Smart Options Optimizer is a unique plugin that will attempt to trace the usage of options and meta records in your WordPress website and determine if some of them are not used at all and are safe for deletion. Many plugins and themes leave trails after they are removed from the installation, and these trails are very hard to remove, and these records can remain in the database for a long time because there is no sure way to detect and remove them. If you are not a developer, it is not recommended at all that you delete any of these records on your own. Previous plugin, Smart Cleanup Tools, is using database queries as a method to determine if some of the options are not connected to anything or are not used by anything else in the database, but it cannot detect what's going on with WordPress and what kind of data WordPress actually requests from the database. This new plugin attempts to fill that void and to allow you to make a decision based on actual tracing data for options usage. Before everything, you should read the PDF user guide and familiarize yourself with the way the plugin works and what to expect from it, and also get some recommendations on how to use it for best results. Also, make sure that you always have backup of the database on hand if something goes wrong. Important thing that Tracer is not removing any data. Tracer is only a monitoring module, and it will gather data, and later on Analyze panel you can decide what to delete. You need to set running conditions, and you should run Tracer for at least few hours, and that will ensure that a lot of pages get visited, so a lot of hits are recorded and a lot of data gathered. Also, make sure to visit most of the admin pages you normally do, and to ensure that all the plugins are actually accessing its own data. Don't activate or deactivate plugins during the Tracer run, and don't use any cache plugins in this period. For more recommendations about Tracer, check the user guide. Select modules you want to use, and you are set. Once you click Run Tracer, it will start, and you will see here the current progress, number of pages loaded, and so on. You can wait all the time that remains here, or you can stop Tracer at any time and then go to Analyze Results. Optimizer results are now ready for analysis. As you can see here, you can select the data you want to analyze, and these here are all 4 tables analyzed by the plugin. Options that are currently loaded, post meta, comment meta, and user meta. Results are separated into 2 tables. First one are options that are not used and should be safe to remove. This means that plugin during the tracing period has found that all these options here are never requested by anything in WordPress, including WordPress or any of the plugins and theme. The longer the period for tracing is, the better these results will be. So if the period was 5 or 6 hours with a lot of visits on a website and most pages getting hits, then this list will be very accurate, and for most of these options you will be safe to delete them. Second table are options that are not used, so same thing goes as above, but based on some other criteria these options might be needed. For instance, we have Gravity Forms plugin on this website, but not all options for that plugin are used on every page. So these are few options that are never used, and the same goes for BBPress forums plugin. So this is something that you will need to decide, should you remove or should you leave it there. Same goes for widgets. Not all widgets are used on the website, but most widgets will get records in the database. If you don't want those extra records, you can safely remove them also. So whatever you decide, you must be sure, because there is no going back after this deletion. You need to create a backup to be sure that nothing goes wrong after these records are deleted. Also, you don't need to delete all records. Delete part of them, then see how it goes, and you can later try to remove some more. Whatever you do, be sure to have a backup on hand to avoid any problems. If we now go to one more thing, this panel here shows you preview of the data. Since every option has only one record, you can see how it looks like. So some have numbers, some have strings, or some are empty, and some have long strings. So we have this show that will open a preview for this option. Same goes for serialized data. So basically you can see all the data in the options table. This is not true for other meta tables, so we'll switch to post meta. As you can see, there are no preview for them, because for one meta record, for one meta option, you can have multiple records. So if you have, in this case, most of these keys have 11 records in this table for 11 different posts or whatever they are. So you will see number of records with this option and total size of all those records here. And the same thing goes here. List of options not used and should be safe to remove because none of the plugins, theme, or WordPress requested them. And records that are not used but potentially needed, again based on the filtering and active plugins you have. This filtering method is not absolute and will be modified with future versions, but for now it recognizes several plugins that have large option set, and we will expand it with every next release. For comment meta, there were no results because there are no records in this table. And user meta again shows some of the settings that are not used and safe to remove and potentially needed. Once you decide to remove, we'll see how to do that. Basically, if you click this button, nothing happens. Let's switch here. And here we see what we can remove from this. Let's select this and some other that is empty. Okay, this slide box plus init. So these are two records we are going to delete. You will get a confirmation how many options with how many records in total. Again, be sure that you have a backup of the database before proceeding, and be sure to read the user guide that comes with the plugin, because it holds a lot of explanations and recommendations on how to use this plugin and how to avoid any problems. Any deletion is totally up to you, and you're doing it on your own decision. So if you are ready to proceed, click yes. You will get notification that deletion is completed and 2 records are deleted. So the records we deleted are now gone from this list. Basically that works the same for any other type of records, but in this case, if we select this for instance, you will see one option but 11 records. This option has 11 records, and this will contain the number of options and total number of records. And it's gone. One more thing you can do with data gathered from Tracer is to analyze Autoload status for all the plugin, all the WordPress options. This table shows all options from WP options table that are not connected to WordPress, so belong to plugins or themes. This table now shows you all the options with some recommendations for the Autoload status and how many times this option has been used during the tracing period. And again, you can see the preview, size, and Autoload status. What this means, if the option is marked as Autoload, it will be loaded automatically when WordPress starts. This will make options available earlier, and it will not require any additional queries through the database to get them. But if the option is not used on every page, it will generate unnecessary load and unnecessary memory usage. So for many options it is safe to set Autoload to no. So what this will mean? For instance, this option here is loaded on every page on both admin and front, so it must be set to Autoload yes. So here it is, the recommendation. The higher percentage here, this is more likely that these options will be okay to work as Autoload set to no. So this option here, recommendation is should be no, because it is used on admin side only and not on the front side, so you can switch it to no. This means that whenever this specific option key is requested by a plugin, it will try to load it from cache. It's not found, then it will generate a query to get it directly from the database. This is a fast query that takes practically no time, so if the option is not requested too often, you can safely leave it to no. Same goes for this option here. This key here is requested only on 30% of admin pages during the trace test. This option here was not used on admin side at all, but most front pages used it, so it is best to leave it to yes, and so on. There are some options like this one that could be no, because some of the front end pages requested it and all of the admin pages requested it also. But this option above can be set to no. So the higher the percentage value and the greener the color is, you can set it to no. It doesn't look that this will save too much of the memory, but serialized data take much more space in memory than in the database. So if this record here takes 4.6 kilobytes in database, this can be 50 or 60 times higher value when loaded into memory, depending on the type of object, the data it contains, and so on. If you read the user guide, you will find some links at the end of the user guide where you can see how the data is stored in the memory when it is loaded by WordPress. So you will get an idea what you will gain by setting some of these options to be loaded on request only, and you can decide for your own if you need to make those changes. So we have made few changes here. and when you are sure, just click save. Again, you will see a confirmation dialog. Click yes, and after the settings are applied, you will see that new values are displayed on this panel. All this is reversible, so you can always switch back from no to yes, and there is no problem with that. So if you later decide to change it back, you can do it again. Here you can find some options to do it automatically for you. So this one will switch all above 80% to no. This will set all to yes. So you can manipulate the values quicker with this. The important thing to know is that all these changes are potentially problematic if you delete the data that you shouldn't delete, and you need to understand how the plugin works, what it will do to the settings, what settings you will actually need, and if you follow all that, you will be satisfied with the results and with the lower database size, with faster loading, because all the options that are not used will not be loaded, because in this case all these options are not detected that are used at all, but all of them have auto load set to yes, and all of them are loaded needlessly every time when WordPress starts. So you will definitely have a big gain from disabling, or at least removing them, or at least disabling some of these options from auto loading in WordPress.